The Tale of the Little Fish and the Vanishing Waterfall. Welcome to the Painting by Numbers channel. Today we are painting a picturesque landscape with a lake and a waterfall full of life. But before we start painting, I want to tell you a tale about a little fish who made an important choice in her life. Far away in the mountains, among dense forests, there was a lake with a magical waterfall. This lake was home to many fish who enjoyed the cool water and lush vegetation around it. The waterfall provided the lake with a constant flow of fresh water, which brought life to all its inhabitants. Among these fish lived a little fish named Lumi. She was brave and inquisitive. She always loved to explore every corner of her lake. Lumi loved the way the water flowed from a height, creating melodious sounds that calmed her and gave her a sense of home. But one day, the older fish began to notice that the waterfall was weakening. The water flow became weaker and weaker, and the water level in the lake began to decrease. The older fish gathered together and decided to consult about what to do next. They realized that they needed to swim to a neighboring lake, where there was still enough water. They warned all the inhabitants of the lake about the danger and urged them to join the journey. The older fish knew that change was inevitable, and in order to survive, they needed to move forward. However, Lumi did not want to leave her home. She was sure that everything would fall into place again, and the waterfall would work again as before. This is only temporary, she thought. Lumi loved her lake and could not imagine herself anywhere else. She refused to listen to the advice of the older fish and decided to stay. The older fish swam on, leaving Lumi with her choice. Time passed, and the water in the lake became shallower and shallower. The plants began to dry up, and there was less and less food. Lumi was left alone in her beloved lake, which had now turned into a small pond. Loneliness and lack of food began to make themselves felt. She missed her friends and the times when water was everywhere. Lumi realized that her stubbornness had prevented her from seeing reality. She regretted her choice, but at the same time she learned an important lesson. Sometimes it is worth listening to the advice of those who have more experience. After some time, Lumi decided to go in search of her relatives and a new home. She overcame many difficulties, but in the end she found a nearby lake where her relatives were waiting for her. They gladly accepted her back, and Lumi realized that a real home is not a place, but those who support and love you. The neighboring lake was even bigger and more beautiful than Lumi could have imagined. It was full of life, and the fish here lived in harmony with nature. Lumi felt happy again, discovering the new world and learning from her relatives. She told them about her adventures and the lessons she had learned. Since then, Lumi began to listen more carefully to her relatives and friends, and also began to help other fish make the right choices. Her story was passed down from generation to generation as an example of how important it is to be attentive to the advice of others and be able to admit your mistakes. I hope this fairy tale will inspire you while coloring. May your pictures always be filled with wisdom and harmony, like a lake with a waterfall. Thank you for being with me today, and see you again.